y'all, my name is Annie. Welcome to my channel, Eat, Drink, and Be Reading. May the 4th be with you. That's right, guys, it is Star Wars Day, and if I had any idea what the date was most days, I would have tried to get this up yesterday or Saturday, but I did not know because I never know what any day is on quarantine. And so here we are, filming and editing and hoping to get this out all on the same day. So, I thought, for Star Wars Day, I thought it would be fun to do some Star Wars themed, recommendations. Really books that I think would be fun to read on Star Wars Day. I have 4 books. They're all young adult. I realized after I thought through it. But I think that most of them they all have something deeper and something for everyone to enjoy and to learn and gain from. So let's get started. The first book is Nyxia by Scott Reignton. I will put a picture of it here because I got it from the library a few years ago. I will admit I'm a little bit biased about Nyxia, and that's because I knew Scott for a brief period in college, and actually his brother-in-law is one of my neighbors. So I want Nyxia to do well, but I also really enjoyed it, and so I wouldn't have shared it with you if I didn't have actually really enjoyed it. Nyxia is actually the first in a trilogy by Scott Reignton, and I realize I keep calling him Scott probably because I feel like I know him, even though it's been at least 15 years since I have seen him. But Nyxia is the story of a teenage boy, Emmett, from Detroit that gets recruited to come and do these tests and trials and kind of try out for this expedition to space, to a kind of unknown planet to mine for a new substance called Nyxia. And if he goes, he gets a fortune, a lot of money, and that's something his family could really use. And so he decides to go, even though he didn't really know anyone or anything. And there's kids from all over the world that are invited. It's one of the real pros to this book is that it's a really diverse set of characters, and I'm pretty sure I remember hearing that Scott did that intentionally. It was very intentional about having diverse characters, so that's another reason to read this book. The first one in particular is the story of the trials and the tests and the workouts and all of that they go through before it kind of gets narrowed down. And there's some romance and there's friendship, but a lot of it's action and adventure. And really, how far are you willing to go? How far is Emmett willing to go for a fortune? Who is he willing to let down or screw over? What is he willing to put his body and his mind through? Just a lot of moral questions that he has to answer and determine. So if you like romance, if you like action, if you like morality, read Nyxia. The next 3 are actually all, rather than taking place in space like Star Wars and Nyxia, they're more fandom related, because if there's one thing that is true about Star Wars, it has a really intense and well-known fandom. It may have even been the start of the fandom craze. I don't know if that's true. Do not quote me on it. These next books have a fandom element to their story. Might be a big part of the storyline or character or something. The first one is The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. It is a beautiful book. I will show you the picture up here. I own it, but I believe it's in a box under our stairs, which breaks my heart, but this house does not have room for any more bookshelves, and the one we currently have is being shared with the printer and the office supplies, and I think I read it before we got these, and so it stayed under the stairs. But fingers crossed, we have more room for bookshelves, and I've already said that one of my top priorities in our next house are bookshelves. So I will display it in my next house, but it is beautiful. And I believe there is a sequel out, actually, in my next house, but it is beautiful. And I believe there is a sequel out, actually. Hazelwood is the story of Alice. Her grandmother wrote a book of dark fairy tales called The Hazelwood, and it has this cult following, cult fandom, if you will. And people in this following have been searching and seeking after Alice and her mom, trying to get to her grandmother, trying to figure out how to get into the Hazelwood because they believe it is this real place. And so Alice and her mom spend most of their life moving around to get away from the fans of the book. And then one day her mom is kidnapped. I think she gets a message that says, like, don't go to the Hazelwood or something like that. And so she enlists the help of this boy in her school who she has learned is a big Hazelwood fan. And she enlists his help to go find the Hazelwood, find her mom. And so there's adventure and fairy tales, and it can be kind of dark and eerie and creepy at times, but just like a beautiful creepiness, if that makes sense. And so it's also the story of friendship, having a friend for the first time, the story of family. And so I think it has something for everyone, and you should read it. Yeah, you should. The third book is Eliza and Her Monsters. I think this one was pretty popular a few years ago. That was before I was really involved at all in like a book community. I think I read it while nursing my second child, but I loved it then. It's one of my favorite YAs. Eliza and Her Monsters is the story of Eliza, this teenage girl who has created a webcomic, and it becomes super popular. It has its own fan fiction accounts. She goes by Lady Constellation online, and her online world is very different than her physical world. Nobody knows that she is this person in her real life, and nobody knows who Lady Constellation is. And then one day a new boy transfers to her school, and it turns out he is the biggest fan fiction writer of her webcomics. And at first he meets her and thinks she's just a fan, and they're excited, and he bonds with her over that. Eventually her secret that she is the author and illustrator of this comic series comes out, and it turns her life upside down, and everything is different. And she really, you see her experience anxiety, fear. I also just love some of her interactions with the boy whose name I cannot remember right now. I just remember thinking, this is exactly what I felt like when I was like with the boy that I liked in high school. These were the anxieties and the fears and the confusion and the thoughts that I had. I thought it was super relatable, even if the like whole webcomic part wasn't. That part was. And so because of that, I think there can be you can feel really understood with Eliza, no matter kind of what you experienced, how old you are now, you will relate to Eliza, and you will feel for her and be really impressed and proud of her too. Okay, my last Star Wars Day recommendation is called Geekerella by Ashley Poston. This is very charming, sweet, young adult romance. I will admit it's probably my least favorite out of the four, but I still thought it was cute and fun. And it is a story of Elle and of Darian. Elle is this girl who was a big Starfield, which was like a cult kind of classic television show. She's this big fan of it because she used to watch it with her father, who has passed away. And she enters a cosplay contest, and the winner gets to go to this ball, like this at the con, that they're having and get to do like a meet and greet with the star of the upcoming reboot. Darian is the star of that reboot, and he is actually a big fan of the show, if I remember correctly, and is excited to play this role, but a lot of the fandom does not like him being cast because they think he's just this heartthrob that's meant to try and bring in other viewers that aren't going to be as committed to the show and are only going to watch it because of him. And so he feels like he can't do it and isn't going to be good at this, since he's just going to fail. And the two of them meet, and friendship and romance and ensues, and it's just the story of them getting to know each other and how they help heal and encourage each other. So if you're looking for something sweet and cute and quick and easy, Geekerella is your book. I hope you all have a fun Star Wars day, that you can get out your lightsabers, put your hair in the pigtail things, or whatever you may do to celebrate. Maybe we'll watch one of the movies or something tonight. Thanks for watching. If you have any other Star Wars related books, please mention them below, particularly sci-fi for me. Give me some recommendations, and I'll maybe read them next, between now and next Star Wars Day, and have even more ideas for next year. Bye, y'all.